We want to talk briefly about our values for the Richter Center Student Leadership Program. These were actually adopted last spring, and they came out of some work that our students in the program at that time were doing to identify and define our values, to sort of better communicate what those values are to others, and also to help build relationships within our team by acknowledging our shared values. This is one of the things I linked to in the chat at the beginning of the session, but you can also find it if you just go to fresnostatercsl.com/recruitment. From that page, there is a link to these. Our 4 values are service, community, integrity, and growth. So the first primary thing is service, since our office is dedicated to helping students engage with the community in meaningful ways. That is the one sort of commonality between all the students in the program, is a passion for service, a desire to impact their community in a positive way, and wanting to make that service as meaningful as possible. Community is about our greater community, but also about the team that we have, and trying to build a good team and collaborate together. Integrity is about holding ourselves to high standards and being accountable to each other. And growth is something that is especially important to myself and Talon and the rest of our Richter Center staff. Helping the students in the program to grow personally and professionally is the reason why we do this. And so the different things that we do to help support growth is listed out here. So I'd encourage you to visit the link that I shared and learn some more about these values. So we have 3 teams in our program that we are recruiting for. A brief overview of them are the alternative break team leaders, who plan a service project during spring break. The Richter Center ambassadors, who are really there to promote and support our campus culture of service, and they do that through a variety of different activities. And our SERV committee, which plans specific one-day service opportunities for our entire Fresno State community.
So our benefits of being on RCSL are that you get to gain new and deepen existing leadership skills, connect with other Fresno State students, especially after being virtual for a whole year. It's nice to have a team and a family to kind of connect to and get to work with on projects, whether that be virtual or in person. Opportunity for support to attend service-related conferences. So there's several student conferences that we get to send students to. Make valuable connections with the community and campus leaders, and then an opportunity to shape university service standards. So we are the hub for service on campus, and so our university looks to us to help them and move forward in specific directions. So some of the job duties include some orientations, there are trainings, as well as some service days. And so those are all listed there. They are mandatory for all RCSL students. So the first one's a new member orientation. So just to get some basic info, get to meet your team. Then we'd have an event planning boot camp. And those are both in May. And so we kind of just get a jump start right ahead and get you going. And then we'll have a summer reflection institute in August, as well as a training. The training is August 11th through 13th. So it's a multiple day training. You get to really know your team members, work on team building skills, but also learn what you're going to do during the semester on your team and start some pre-planning before the semester starts. In November, we host a LIFT conference, and that is with other CSU and universities in California. So it's not just Fresno State. So you have the opportunity to meet a lot of other service leaders and kind of connect with them, either virtual or in person. And then we'll have a winter training in January, so right when we come back from winter break. And then we'll have a spring training in March. And we typically go over next steps, what you gained. It's a reflection workshop, as well as some different trainings and skills. And then also some of the requirements are to submit some monthly reflection forms at the end of each month. So basically those just track how many hours you've done, what you've been working on, what skills you've gained. And that way in the March training, we give that all back to you. And so you have like a nice compilation of everything that you've done and have it in one form to add to your resume. And then you will also help plan the LIFT conference as well as facilitate reflection for Fresno State students who are engaged in service. So that might mean for a service learning class or for a team out of our office here. So there's lots of different opportunities for our student leaders here on campus.
Thanks, Taylin. And just to note that the 2 trainings in May will be virtual. The others, it will just depend on what public health guidelines are at that time. If possible, we will do them in person in Fresno, but we will do, what's safest. Okay, so now we're going to get in a little deeper into each of the teams. Again, on that recruitment website, fresnostatercsl.com/recruitment, you can find links to each of these teams and the job descriptions, which has all the dates Taylin just went over, as well as like the very specific things that each team member engages in. So as I mentioned, the alternative break team leaders, they plan a service project for a team of students that takes place during the spring break period. This is a good team if you're interested in leading others, planning and organizing events, working with community partners, and recruiting students. So some of the key responsibilities are to plan and coordinate the service projects, recruit, select, and train team members, work with local businesses to seek donations to support the project. A really cool thing is getting to work closely with a community benefit organization to develop the service project with them to make sure it best fits the needs of the folks they serve. It's about a 3 to 4 hour a week commitment. Obviously during trainings, there's a little bit more time you dedicate to it. During the week of spring break, you would meet more, but then there's other times of the year where it wouldn't be as many hours. So this is like an average 3 to 4 hours a week. And that includes a weekly team meeting and a weekly office hour. And then of course you would have to be available during the spring break period next spring to lead a project. The Richter Center Ambassadors is our oldest team. It was founded in 2008. They promote our office and service opportunities, and they do that through a number of like presentations and campaigns and outreach activities. This is a good team if you like connecting with people, networking, planning fun, and engaging outreach activities. This picture is actually from an activity they planned last spring, right before we went into lockdown. And it was like a booth that they were setting up just to spread kindness on campus and encourage people to get involved in service. Some of their key responsibilities are to promote, support, and attend our Richter Center events, develop and implement projects and outreach campaigns to nurture our campus culture of service, facilitate our service learning and community service showcases at the end of each semester. They get to mentor new Bulldogs through the Richter Center Service Leadership Academy. They also average about 3 to 4 hours a week, including the weekly team meeting and weekly office hour. And then because ambassadors are really promoting service, we want you to kind of walk the talk. So staying active in your personal service efforts by completing at least 15 hours a semester. And that would include attending one of the service days planned by the SERV committee. Yeah, all right.
And the SERV committee plans one-day service events like Melissa mentioned. So in the summer, you'll be able to identify either a community partner or an issue that you care about. And then you'll get to pair up with another student on the committee and actually start planning that for fall in the summer. So that's why we're doing the event boot camp in May. So you'll have some time to pick your project, pick your community partner, and then throughout the fall, you'll be able to select specific days that work with your community partner to host events. So for example, that might be an on-campus blood drive, or cleaning up at Art of Life, which is a park within Woodward Park. And so you'll get to engage other Fresno State students, encourage them to come out and volunteer with you, as well as connect with community partners, fundraise, solicit donations, and then provide leadership on site during the event. So you'll get to provide reflection and introduce them to the site and to the community partner. So this will be starting in the summer and then working through the fall to actually plan and implement, as well then into the spring. So it'll be a year-long partnership with your community partner. Like Melissa mentioned, it's about 3 to 4 hours a week, but that includes your 1 weekly meeting and your 1 weekly office hour with your partner, so whoever you're working with on the project. And then that will fluctuate depending if you have a service event that Saturday or if we have a training. Some weeks it might only be 2 hours, some weeks it might be 4 or 5. So the 3 to 4 is just an average. So now that we've gone over the required dates as well as the teams, we're going to hear from some of our current students. Melissa and I obviously are passionate about the program as the advisors, but it's nice to hear from fellow students on their experience and what they've gotten out of the program. So the first question, and then current students, feel free to just jump in and take yourself off mute. What is your favorite thing about RCSL? Favorite thing?
I don't mind sharing if that's okay.
Oh, that'd be great, Angela.
What I really like about RCSL and why I joined was because it's really nice to have a small community of people that you know and you'll know for a long time that have similar values, because all of us in RCSL, whether we're ambassadors on the SERV committee, we're all passionate about service. And that's what I really like, being a part of a small community where we know each other and we're all passionate about one common thing.
Wonderful. Thank you, Angela. One other current student, what is your favorite thing about RCSL?
This kind of ties into what Angela just said, but definitely the people that you meet within the program.
Thanks, Katie. We are definitely about making connections and getting students connected who love service and are passionate about getting others involved in service. So what is an example of our values in action? So that would be growth, integrity, service, or community. An example of our values in action.
On the SERV committee, as I've been a part of, really, I think the whole process of us planning events just really embodies that service value, because we get to work together and then we go out in the community for these one-day events, and like whatever it be, whatever the project is, whether it's like trail maintenance that we sometimes do or something more involved with the community, the local community, we just always are giving back, and it's really rewarding.
Thank you, Maria. One other current student, an example of our values in action that you've seen.
One thing that I see is growth during our workshops with other students and with even other ambassadors too. The ability to collect, even during the pandemic, everyone together and to talk about everything we wanted to discuss with the workshop. You could see a lot of growth in other students and in yourself. And that was something very valuable that I think a lot of students and participants will remember.
Thanks, Mark. That ties right into our next question. So what is something you've learned or a skill you've gained from being a part of RCSL?
For me, I would say I definitely learned the value of reflection, especially reflecting on something, maybe even before you do it, because in the workshops that we do for Leadership Academy, the ambassadors hold these workshops, we always do a reflection, and doing the reflections helped me realize that sometimes we skip over the important details and we just miss out on things. For example, after like a service event or something, it's good to have a reflection so you know what went well, and not only that, but you also know what was important to you and what did you learn from the experiments.
Thanks, Angela. Ariel, were you gonna?
Yeah, I was gonna say, through the program, I've learned a lot of transferable skills, like, for example, time management and problem solving, um, organization skills, just many skills that I've learned throughout the whole year.
Great. Thank you both. What has been your greatest challenge being a part of RCSL? Greatest challenge.
When we were planning Lyft, I chose to be on the team that had to ask for donations and stuff like that. And I'd say my greatest challenge was I was so terrified of making phone calls and asking people for money, because who wants to do that? And then as soon as you sat down and had the list in front of you and you just started doing it, it was like you got more confidence as you did it. So yeah, I think that was my greatest challenge.
Thanks, Katie. Anyone else greatest challenge being part of RCSL?
I think, like Ariel had mentioned, we kind of learned time management skills, and it was challenging at times to learn how to be efficient with my time in college, including RCSL, but it was really manageable, and it definitely made me a better person overall, just learning how to balance school and involvement.
I think that's one that we hear often is the time management component. And I think this is a great program to work on that and to learn from your peers and see what is working for them and how they manage their time. And then also having two advisors that you can rely on to help you work that out and navigate that. I think just in life in general, we're always trying to learn better ways to manage our time and be more efficient. Thanks, Maria. What advice do you have for someone who's considering applying to RCSL?
Really, one important thing I would say is there is a lot you can gain from it, even though it might look intimidating at first. There's a lot of meaningful experiences you will gain throughout your time with RCSL. And over the course, you will see a lot of personal development and even professional development for yourself too. And building those connections with other people are also really enjoyable. And that's something that you'll take on with you even after you graduate, after working with RCSL.
Thanks, Mark. Anyone else advice you have for someone considering applying?
I would add that if service or a volunteer work is something that's really meaningful to you, then I wouldn't hesitate to join, because joining RCSL will give you the opportunity to work with your peers, work with others, and even volunteer alongside others to work on a project and do something great that's really meaningful to you.
Thank you, Angela. Any other returners? Advice for someone considering applying?
I'd say you definitely can't just go to class and then go home and do your homework and that's it. You have to get involved on campus. And if service is something you're passionate about, this is such a easy and rewarding way to do it.
Thanks, Katie. Awesome. Thank you to our returners for sharing with us and giving some feedback on our program. We will move on to our next
Awesome.
section.
Thank you, Taylin. So really briefly, we wanted to go over the application process. Again, I want to point you to our recruitment site, fresnostatercsl.com/recruitment. Before applying, we encourage you to make sure you've considered your other commitments for next year, whether it be work, family obligations, other clubs or organizations you are heavily involved with, internships, class load. So just kind of, going back to that thing about time management, like starting to think about, okay, what would my week look like if I was involved in RCSL and all of these other things. We encourage you to review the position descriptions. Again, those can be found on the recruitment website. There's links for each one of the teams, and each one has its own position description that has the specifics about what you do on that team, as well as all of the required trainings and dates. Review our program's values and just make sure that they align with your own values. Make sure you're available for all of our required dates. That means checking with your family. We have had issues in the past where a student's parents planned a vacation without telling them, and then they were no longer eligible for the program because they weren't able to attend training. So just make sure that you are available there. As kind of been discussed already, but just make sure you're passionate about service. We will provide you with the skills you need to be successful in this program and the support you need. But the one thing we can't give you is passion for service. That's got to be something that you bring to the table. You'll need to obtain a letter of recommendation from a non-relative who can speak to your passion for service, to your leadership potential. And that could be a teacher, it could be someone you work for. If you know one of our current RCSL members or even one of our former ones, they can also write you a letter of recommendation. And then if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can email me or Talon, and we're happy to further discuss this with you and address any questions that you might have.